Good evening, and we start with the controversy surrounding Judge Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court. A final vote in the Senate looks like it will take place over the weekend. Hundreds of protesters were arrested on Capitol Hill yesterday, and many more went inside today in one last-ditch effort to persuade swing votes. But the vote count is starting to become clearer. The last weeks leading up to Judge Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation vote have felt to many like much longer. But that appears to largely be due to all of the media coverage. Reporting from the Capitol on the day of the second-to-last vote on Kavanaugh's confirmation, one thing that stood out is the vast number of media reporters compared to actual protesters for or against the controversial nominee. After some of the dramatic footage that we've seen from a Senate office building Thursday night and the gravity of this vote long-term, many expected the protest on Friday to carry on, potentially even resembling the energy of the Women's March or a Trump rally. But what we saw today was certainly equal in the passion, but lacking in numbers. The debate has also been painted as a he said, she said battle over sexual assault. But many signs point to the nomination fight now splitting more along those partisan lines, with protesters' anger and chants.
You know, in every group of leftists, you've got the violent, angry, hateful people that have no arguments, and so they resort to name-calling and violence. Had a guy knock my hat off, and yesterday they broke my phone and ripped my sign. But it's what we've come to expect in America, unfortunately.
Directed often more at the Trump administration and President Trump.
This is a catastrophe. This is the equivalent of putting Donald Trump on the Supreme Court for life. And to defeat Kavanaugh's confirmation now would deal a huge blow to Trump, would strengthen the movement to force Donald Trump to resign or be removed.
And touching on issues far broader than just sexual assault in Kavanaugh's confirmation. Many of those anti-Kavanaugh protesters outside the Senate have been men, with some even citing the Affordable Care Act as a driving issue.
Defend the ACA. Health insurance is pretty important to me because everyone's going to need health care. And you know, you got people that don't seem to want to listen to this cause. I think it's a shame.
This comes as new polls show many Republican women coming home to their party's nominee after last week's hearing and the inclusive FBI investigation that followed. As we've seen in the Capitol, much of the pressure on them to do so may be coming from the media and their own political sides, rather than the remaining groups of protesters on Capitol Hill. To return to the nomination vote of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, we are joined by Reese, attorney and founder of BABES, B-A-B-E-S, in the workplace. Reese, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back.
What a monumental day. We have just recently heard that the Democrat Senator Joe Manchin and Republican Senator Collins will vote yes tomorrow on Judge Kavanaugh, putting him over the threshold needed for confirmation. What was your initial reaction?
A disappointing day in America, where we are not paying attention to what's been said by this man's mouth. His own actions, his own words have shown him to be not qualified to sit on the bench, the highest bench in the land. And unfortunately, because of partisan politics, they're so in a rush to get someone into that seat who's going to vote the way the president wants him to, that we're disregarding that this man is unqualified. It's a very disappointing day in America.
Well, a lot of people do feel that, and we've seen the toll that's been out, but I want to look at the long-term effects of the events and the results of the last few weeks. Do you feel like all the drama, the media coverage, the anger has helped women in the workplace moving forward?
Absolutely. What we're seeing is a righteous indignation. We're seeing women who are coming forward. We're also seeing that women are understanding the why I didn't report. Not just women, but men. Everyone's starting to understand that when women come forward, when they tell their story, oftentimes they're just pushed aside and disregarded. And so we're seeing women decide to stand up and speak louder and support one another. Even the protests, women are coming out in droves and saying, we will not tolerate this type of behavior. And if you do go ahead and appoint someone like this to the Supreme Court, there will be consequences and repercussions. And during some of the protests, a lot of the protesters spoke about how they had raised money and in the millions of dollars to take the seats from those people who from the senators who have confirmed or who are voting to confirm this judge.
Absolutely. And Amy, one of the big mantras of the Republican women were, what about our sons? I'm worried about how this is the future for our sons, that they could be possibly falsely accused from this. Is that a smart tactic, do you think the Republican women need to be saying?
I don't think that's just rhetoric that should be coming out of just Republicans' mouths. I think that no matter what party affiliation that you have on your name, you should be concerned. Absolutely. We're talking about young men, even your husbands, your sons, your uncles, your grandfathers. This has really created a narrative of presuming that people are guilty without any facts behind it. This is now, I have a girlfriend of mine who is a licensed family therapist, and she says she has men now coming in that are questioning, where is the line? Am I even allowed to give a hug? Am I allowed to even give a compliment? There are a lot of women out there, a lot of young women and even boys that have been sexually assaulted. I too was a victim. I would actually like to call myself a survivor, but many of us have actually been sexually assaulted, and it's what you choose to do with it. Do you deal with it immediately? Do you deal with it 2 years from now? Do you deal with it 10 years from now? Either way, I don't think by what they did to Judge Kavanaugh was right. It was not factual, and they've destroyed an entire family in the process of people's emotions getting the best of them.
Scotty,
Amy,
we've got to tell mothers to do better. Scotty, that's unacceptable. We've got to tell our mothers to do better. Raise men who are not rapists. Raise men who are not going to sexually violate women. Raise men who respect women, and we'll go from there.
And like I said, the ripples of this is going to go beyond this weekend. Amy, Reese, thanks for joining us.